The emergency alarm was blaring. 3 different species were filing formal complaints in real time, and Dr. Morgan Kane was calmly asking her students which predator they wanted to see next week. "I'm thinking either the octopus or maybe something from the cat family," she said, completely ignoring the fact that 63 alien students were currently pressed against the walls of Lecture Hall 23B, making distressed noises in 17 different languages. The chaos had started innocently enough. Morgan had walked into her first guest lecture at Nexus Galactic University with what she considered standard educational materials: a transport case containing one extremely well-behaved Terran corvid, a holographic display unit, and enough enthusiasm to power a small space station. "Good morning, everyone," she'd announced cheerfully to the assembled xenobiology students. "I'm Dr. Morgan Kane from Earth, and today we're going to explore predator-prey relationships through hands-on demonstration." That should have been the first warning sign. Dean Vexthalar's crystalline features had been their usual elegant blue when the lecture began. Now they were shifting rapidly through panic yellow, alarm orange, and what appeared to be existential crisis purple. "Dr. Kane," he said with the careful precision of someone standing on the edge of a cliff, "when you submitted your curriculum proposal mentioning educational specimens—" "I brought educational specimens." Morgan gestured cheerfully to the sleek black corvid perched on her lecture desk. "Everyone, meet Midnight. She's a Terran crow, apex predator, tool user, problem solver, and occasional comedian." The room's temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Student Pip Quinn, a nervous flitterwing who spent most lectures hovering anxiously near the ceiling, was now clinging to the light fixtures like his life depended on it. "Apex predator?" His voice cracked across multiple octaves. "You brought an apex predator to biology class?" "Well, yes. How else would you study predatory behavior?" Morgan looked genuinely confused by their distress. "Midnight here demonstrates classic hunting adaptations: enhanced cognitive function, tool manipulation, strategic thinking." She held up a complex puzzle box. "Watch this. Midnight, show them problem-solving protocol 7. What happened next would later be described in incident reports as the moment when academic exchange became a diplomatic crisis." Midnight cocked her head, studied the puzzle box for exactly 3 seconds, then flew to it with liquid grace. She manipulated the first mechanism with her beak, used one claw to trigger a secondary release, rotated a third component with surgical precision, and extracted a treat from the center. Total time elapsed, 12 seconds. Half the class fainted immediately. The other half pressed themselves so hard against the walls that Security Chief Kronk later found permanent impressions in the station's hull. Plating. Tool use, sequential reasoning, adaptive problem-solving under pressure, Morgan explained to the semi-conscious room. Classic apex predator cognitive suite, and this is actually pretty basic for her species. Student Zorak, an ironhide who'd started the lecture confidently taking notes, was now backed against the emergency exit with his armored hide visibly sweating. The human classified that as basic? "Oh, absolutely. Crows are remarkable, but they're not even in our top 10 for raw intelligence." Morgan scratched affectionately behind Midnight's head. "Wait until you see what I've got planned for next week." The room went dead silent, except for the sound of Pip Quinn hyperventilating, and what might have been someone praying in ancient Zephyrian. "Next week?" Dean Vexthalar's voice cracked across 3 octaves. Morgan nodded enthusiastically. "I got approval for a full semester curriculum. comparative predator studies across Earth biomes. We're going to cover everything from pack hunters to ambush specialists to persistence predators. She pulled up her holographic display, showing a semester schedule that would later cause 3 Galactic Council members to require medical attention. Week 2 is Cephalopod Intelligence. I'm bringing a Pacific giant octopus, 9-foot arm span, problem solves at the level of a human 5-year-old, can camouflage instantly, and demonstrates tool use in real time. 9 feet, student Zorak repeated weakly. Arm span, not total length. They're completely soft-bodied, which means they can squeeze through any opening larger than their beak. Oh, and they have beaks. Parrot-like, but designed for crushing shellfish. Beak? Pip Quinn's voice hit frequencies that shouldn't have been possible for his species. For feeding, mostly. They grab prey with muscular tentacles, which are basically arms covered in suction cups, then bite through shells to access the meat inside. Morgan looked thoughtful. Actually, octopi are perfect examples of ambush predation. They can change color and texture to match their surroundings in milliseconds, allowing them to remain completely invisible until they strike. That's when the alarms started, not the gentle chimes used for routine announcements, but the deep, bone-rattling emergency klaxons that meant someone had activated the university's Code Amber. Hazardous Materials Protocol. Security Chief Kronk burst through the doors with what the brute force species considered full tactical gear, powered armor, energy shields, and enough firepower to level a small building. He took one look at Midnight, perched innocently on the desk, and immediately drew his plasma stunner. "Stand down, Terran!" His voice boomed through the armor's speakers. "Release the combat unit immediately!" Morgan blinked in confusion. "Combat unit? She's a crow." "A what?" Kronk's weapon wavered. In brute force military doctrine, anything with talons, demonstrated intelligence, and the ability to coordinate complex actions was automatically classified as military hardware. Corvid, highly intelligent bird. They can count, use tools, solve multi-step problems, hold grudges for years, and teach their offspring to recognize individual human faces. Morgan reached out and gently scratched behind Midnight's head. Basically flying geniuses with serious attitude problems. The plasma stunner clattered to the floor. Kronk's species had spent 3,000 years developing tactical doctrine for every conceivable threat, and none of it covered flying geniuses with attitude problems. But the pre-contact intelligence report said Earth fauna was primitive, Ambassador Theiss said, as she slithered into the room. Her serpentine form was coiled in what Morgan was beginning to recognize as severe diplomatic distress. "Primitive," Morgan laughed. "Midnight here can solve puzzles that stump half my graduate students. She understands cause and effect, demonstrates tool creation, and has been observed using automotive traffic to crack nuts." Using traffic to crack nuts? Dr. Zentarek appeared in the doorway, the university's head of xenobiology, looking like someone whose worldview was actively collapsing. Crows drop nuts in front of moving vehicles, then wait for red lights to safely collect their cracked food. They've learned to use human infrastructure as a tool. Morgan gestured to her display. "That's not even the impressive part. Want to see something really remarkable?" Before anyone could object, she pulled out a standard laser pointer and activated it. A small red dot appeared on the wall. The room collectively held its breath as Midnight immediately locked onto the moving target with perfect precision, tracking its movement with the focused intensity of a natural-born killer. When Morgan turned off the pointer, Midnight instantly looked directly at her hand, having instantaneously identified the source of the stimulus. Predator response to moving targets, Morgan explained cheerfully. Perfect visual tracking, lightning-fast reflexes, and immediate reverse engineering of the targeting system. She solved that in about 3 seconds. Student Zorak's armored hide was now visibly perspiring. It reverse engineered our targeting technology? Basic problem solving. Now imagine what the really intelligent Earth predators can do. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part came when Morgan's communication device chimed with an incoming message from Earth. She glanced at it and smiled. "Oh, perfect timing. Professor Blake just confirmed that my shipment for next week arrived safely at the transport station." Shipment. Dean Vex Thalar's voice had gone completely monotone. "The Pacific giant octopus I mentioned. Plus, Blake managed to get approval for the extended curriculum." Morgan's smile widened. "Looks like we'll be able to cover the full spectrum of Earth predatory adaptations." She began reading from her tablet. Week 3. Pack. Dynamics with timber wolves. Week 4. Persistence hunting with African wild dogs. Week 5. Ambush strategies with various felids. Week 6. Aquatic apex predators with great white sharks. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Pipquin fainting and hitting the floor with a small thud. "Great white sharks," Ambassador Thies repeated weakly. 12-foot electromagnetic warfare specialists, Morgan confirmed. They can detect the electrical field of a beating heart from several miles away, plus they have enhanced motion detection, chemical analysis capabilities, and approximately 300 triangular teeth arranged in multiple rows for efficient prey processing. Security Chief Kronk had gone completely pale. 300 weapons-grade cutting implements? Plus, they demonstrate cultural learning, passing hunting techniques to their offspring through behavioral observation rather than genetic programming. Morgan paused, checking her notes. "Oh, and Blake got special approval for Week 7. "Week 7? Dr. Zentarek asked in a voice that suggested he'd given up all hope. "Endurance hunting with Homo sapiens." The words hit the room like a physical force. Commander Griselda, who had arrived with the military advisory team, stepped forward. Her species, the War Turks, considered themselves the galaxy's premier warriors. She'd personally survived 14 major conflicts and countless smaller engagements. She took one look at the curriculum and immediately stepped back. "Homo sapiens," she said carefully. "The humans classify themselves as predators?" "Persistence hunters," Morgan confirmed. "Humans can maintain pursuit of prey for up to 26.2 standard distance units without stopping. We call it marathoning. Most humans can do it recreationally." "Recreationally?" Commander Griselda's tusks were now fully extended, indicating severe stress in war tusk physiology. "It's a popular sport. Humans regularly engage in voluntary pursuit activities over extreme distances for entertainment." Morgan pulled up additional data. "The current record is actually much longer. Some humans have demonstrated continuous movement capabilities exceeding 100 standard distance units." What happened next made galactic history. Dean Vex Thalar, in a moment of panic-induced poor judgment, activated the university's emergency broadcast system. Within minutes, Morgan's casual curriculum had been automatically transmitted to every major academic institution in the galaxy as part of the Code Amber hazardous materials documentation. The transmission included her complete course outline, video footage of Midnight's problem-solving demonstration, and Morgan's cheerful explanation of human recreational marathoning. Within the hour, the lecture hall incident had been escalated from academic irregularity to potential first contact violation, with Earth's cultural exchange program under immediate emergency review. But the real crisis began when the recording reached the Galactic Council's Threat Assessment Division. Emergency session transcripts would later show the exact moment when Counselor Vexthalar, Dean Vexthalar's second cousin, stood up during the emergency assembly and asked the question that would haunt interstellar relations for decades. If this crow represents basic Earth intelligence and humans classify themselves as persistence predators, what exactly qualifies as an advanced Earth predator? The answer came in the form of Morgan's supplementary materials, which had been helpfully attached to the emergency transmission. Additional specimens approved for demonstration include saltwater crocodiles, apex aquatic ambush predators, Siberian tigers, solitary stalking specialists, African lions, cooperative pack hunters, polar bears, Arctic-adapted megapredators, and various species of sharks, eagles, wolves, and venomous snakes. It was the phrase various species that caused Counselor Theiss to require medical attention. "How many apex predators does Earth currently support?" she asked weakly. The cultural attaché consulted his rapidly updating files. Current estimates suggest approximately 400 distinct species, not including subspecies variations or recently extinct variants. 400, Counselor Griselda repeated in the tone one might use to describe the end of civilization. "And humans coexist with all of these?" asked Counselor Zentarek. "According to the educational materials, humans coexist with, study, domesticate, occasionally hunt, and occasionally get hunted by these species," the attaché confirmed. "Get hunted by," someone whispered from the back of the assembly. "The documentation indicates that predation of humans by other Earth species, while uncommon, is considered part of the natural environmental balance, rather than a problem requiring technological intervention." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Meanwhile, back in Lecture Hall 23B, Morgan was having what she considered a perfectly reasonable conversation with the university's hastily assembled crisis management team. "Look," she said with the patient tone of someone explaining something obvious, "I understand there's been some confusion about the curriculum, but I really don't see what the problem is. Every planet has predators. Earth just has more biodiversity." "More biodiversity," repeated Dr. Zentarek in the tone one might use to describe a plague outbreak. "Competitive evolution, multiple mass extinction events, varied climate zones, complex ecosystems." Morgan gestured to her holographic display showing Earth's food webs, layer upon layer of interconnected predator-prey relationships more complex than anything in the galactic biological database. "It's really quite elegant." "Dr. Kane," Dr. Zentarek said very carefully, "most planets have one, perhaps two apex predators per major ecosystem. Your preliminary data suggests significantly higher numbers." "Well, yes. Earth's had several evolutionary bottlenecks, so natural selection had to get creative multiple times. Plus, we've got diverse environmental niches, so different habitats selected for different specialized hunting strategies." "How many apex predators are we discussing?" Commander Griselda asked. Morgan pulled out her tablet and began scrolling. "Depends how you define apex, but current estimates put it around 400 distinct species, not counting the extinct ones or subspecies variations." Dr. Zentarek sat down heavily in the nearest chair. And humans coexist with all of these? Coexist, domesticate, study, occasionally hunt or get hunted by, yes. Morgan gestured to Midnight, who was now preening her feathers and occasionally cawing what sounded suspiciously like commentary. Take crows, for instance. They're one of the few species that can hold multi-generational grudges against individual human families. Multi-generational grudges. Ambassador Theis's diplomatic training clearly hadn't covered this scenario. Crows can recognize human faces and teach their offspring to recognize those same faces. There are documented cases of crow families harassing human families for decades over perceived slights. Morgan looked thoughtful. They're also known to bring gifts to humans they like, recruit allies for territorial disputes, and engage in what researchers call practical jokes. Practical jokes. Dr. Zen Tarek's voice had gone very small. Crow humor tends toward the physical, stealing shiny objects, imitating human speech at inappropriate moments, dive-bombing people they don't like. Morgan paused. Actually, that brings up an interesting point about Earth predator psychology. Many of our intelligent predators demonstrate complex emotional responses, including humor, grief, revenge, and what humans would recognize as personality. The xenobiology team exchanged looks that conveyed several different types of existential dread. Dr. Kane, Dr. Zen Tarek said slowly, "Are you telling us that Earth predators engage in psychological warfare?" "I wouldn't call it warfare, more like neighborhood politics with teeth and claws." That's when the Deep Space Communication Array detected incoming transmissions from approximately 43 different star systems, all marked urgent diplomatic priority. Dr. Kane, Dean Vexthalar said, with the careful precision of someone conducting extremely delicate bomb disposal, "I think we need to have a very serious conversation about Earth's definition of educational outreach." But Morgan was looking at her tablet again, where a series of new messages had just arrived from Professor Blake. "Oh, wonderful news," she announced cheerfully. "Blake says the Wolfpack transport just cleared customs. They'll be here in time for next week's demonstration on cooperative hunting strategies." Wolfpack? Dr. Zen Tarek's voice had gone completely flat. "Just a family group. 3 adults and 2 juveniles, all very well, socialized with humans." Morgan consulted her notes. "Blake says they're particularly good at demonstrating coordinated pursuit tactics and real-time strategic adaptation." The silence that followed was broken by what sounded like someone praying in a language that predated most galactic civilization records. Dr. Kane, Dean Vexthalar said, with the careful precision of someone standing at the edge of a black hole, "When you say coordinated pursuit tactics, pack hunting methodology, wolves can coordinate complex multi-phase strategies in real time without technological assistance. They assign specialized roles, adapt to changing conditions mid-hunt, and communicate through subtle body language and positioning." Morgan looked up brightly. "It's really quite impressive. They've been documented taking down prey 50 times their individual body mass through pure teamwork." 50 times their body mass, repeated someone in a voice that suggested their worldview was rapidly disintegrating. "Well, that's exceptional circumstances. Usually it's more like 10 to 20 times individual size. Still remarkably efficient." Morgan's tablet chimed again. "Oh, excellent. Blake also got approval for the shark demonstration. Apparently, the aquatic facility can accommodate a 12-foot specimen, which should be perfect for showing predatory sensory capabilities." 12 feet of electromagnetic warfare specialist, Dr. Zentarek whispered, plus enhanced motion detection, chemical analysis capabilities, and the ability to detect injured prey from several miles away. Morgan explained helpfully. Great whites are fascinating examples of sensory evolution. They're basically living detection systems with 300 razor-sharp teeth. Security Chief Kronk, who had been quietly having what appeared to be a species-specific nervous breakdown in the corner, suddenly stood up. "Dr. Kane," he said with the formal tone his people used before declaring war, "are you telling us that Earth's aquatic zones contain 12-foot-long mobile weapons platforms equipped with advanced sensor arrays and close combat capability?" "I mean, if you want to put it that way, sure. But that's not even the most interesting thing about sharks." Kronk sat back down. "The really fascinating aspect is their learning capacity and cultural transmission," Morgan continued enthusiastically. "Great whites can remember individual hunting territories for decades, and they've been observed teaching specialized hunting techniques to their offspring through behavioral demonstration." "Teaching?" Dean Vexthalar's voice cracked. "Knowledge transfer across generations through social learning rather than genetic programming. Some shark populations have developed completely novel hunting strategies that get passed down through behavioral observation. Cultural evolution in action." The room had gone so quiet that Midnight's occasional caw sounded like editorial commentary on the collective mental breakdown happening around her. "Dr. Kane," Ambassador Theiss said with the diplomatic precision of someone diffusing an interstellar incident, "I believe there may have been some fundamental miscommunication regarding Earth's academic exchange program." Miscommunication? When Earth submitted the proposal for biological